Hi and welcome to the summer term and our Proms project. As you can hear, there's some music going on. This is Pomp and Circumstance by Elgar, one of the really traditional pieces that's played at the last night of the Proms. And as you'll see behind me, I am adorned with last night of the Proms affair. We'll go into more of that later. But our project this term is all about the Proms, and it's based, as I said, based here in London and started in 1895. And was set up by two people, one of whom was a musician and one who was just very organised and had financial backing. And they were called Sir Henry Wood, who was a conductor, a musician and a composer, and a friend of his called Robert Newman. And they set the Proms up as a way of allowing everybody to access classical music. And at the time, in 1895, it was just classical music and orchestral music that was played. But they wanted everybody to be able to access it and enjoy it as much as they did. So prom tickets were a lot cheaper than seated tickets. And a prom, or promenade concert, which is what it's short for, is a concert where originally you were encouraged to wander around, have a drink, something to eat while the orchestra were playing. These days, to go to a prom, you can have seated booked seats, but you can also go to an area where you can stand, sit down, lie down and just enjoy the prom with a drink and possibly something to eat as well. So the ethos is still the same 126 years after these guys started it up. And tickets to go to a prom, if you're going to sit down or lie down or wander around, are much, much cheaper than those in a box or on a normal seat. And that ethos has remained the same from the early days. Now, the first concert in the Proms in 1895, the poster for it looked like this. Actually, very similar to posters for concert these days. And you'll notice that the price for a ticket is just 1 shilling, which is 5p in our current money. Which is fantastic. Now these days, sadly it's not 5p to go to the concert, but it's £6, which, considering most normal tickets are 20 to 30 or even more, there's still a big difference, and it's a really nice way to go and see some incredible music really close up and have a really nice night out. Now the Proms, invented by or founded by Sir Henry Wood, because he wanted to allow people to see what was going on in this country. We've got an amazing resource of composers and performers and conductors, and so as well as getting lots of people to enjoy classical music and orchestral music, he wanted to give people the opportunity to have their music performed. And many famous composers from all around the world have had their journeys started at the Proms in London. So we are going to be looking at how it's all come out. Now, prommers are the term, or the informal word for people that go to the prom and sit down. And in 1895, this is what they would have looked like. There we are, waiting to go into Queen's Hall to go and have a nice, relaxing concert. And here today, you'll notice that people get quite patriotic about the Proms, and the Union flag comes out a lot, and people get really involved. And the last night of the Proms, everyone gets to sing and join in with the music as well. It's a really fun event. Let's put that to one side. Okay, so the Proms now, because Queen's Hall got bombed down in the war, they are now held at the Royal Albert Hall. Those of you in the upper school choir are very familiar with this building because we were hoping to go there. It's an absolutely incredible building. It's like a maze inside. Because it's circular, you can very easily get lost because all the doors look the same. It's an absolutely phenomenal building to sing in as well as to listen to. And the Proms are traditionally held there every year. There are a few extra venues now because they have concerts every day for 8 weeks. And various other venues around London are used, but this is the main one. And on the last night of the Proms, which is the final concert of the season, they have a concert that is happening in here and another concert over the road in Hyde Park, and they go along simultaneously, and then they come together for the last few pieces of music, and they are video streamed, and there is fireworks and a light show and cannons, and it's a massive party atmosphere. It's a really incredible thing to be a part of. So that is what we are going to be looking at. That is the Albert Hall. Now, as they first started getting into their Proms and it became an annual event, they decided it would be nice to feature certain composers from around the world on certain days. So Mondays were Wagner days. Now Wagner is a German composer, has done lots of what I would consider quite heavy classical music, absolutely fantastic and amazing to listen to, but quite intense. And then on Fridays, we've got Beethoven, who has a big anniversary of his death this year. So there's going to be lots of Beethoven music at the Proms this year to celebrate his life and his works. But he was the slightly more lighter relief on a Friday. This doesn't continue now, but it was quite a nice thing to have happen during the times in the early 1900s. So if people wanted to go and see Beethoven, they would go to the concert on a Friday night and Wagner on a Monday. Okay, so since the 1960s, the Proms have started including a more wide variety of music. It's not just classical orchestral music anymore. And since the 60s, they have included jazz proms, rock and roll proms, film theme proms. There's been John Williams, who has written the music for a huge number of films, such as Star Wars and Harry Potter and Jaws, and a whole host of other things. And so we get various theme proms. There are often ones for children, hosted by CBeebies, and just some amazing things like that. There's a jazz prom regularly. It was one of my favourites now. We get a whole host of musical ideas from various places around the world. So there will be multicultural evenings. There will be music of Indian traditional tabla and Indian music, and the same from Africa, and just it's pretty much everything is included these days, which is just phenomenal to see. When the programme comes through for the BBC Proms, it's really thick, and it's just this whole host of incredible music to get excited by, which is fantastic. And since for the last probably about 40-50 years, they have started embracing the diversity in music, which this country now reflects. So instead of being very male dominated and white dominated musicians, composers and conductors, they have moved with the times, and they do reflect what is our country is all about these days, and our world. And if we look at the musicians from 1930, now in 1927 the BBC took over the running of the Proms, and there was a short time during the Second World War where they didn't, but then they came back to it. And in 1930, the BBC Symphony Orchestra was founded, and they became the main orchestra of the Proms. And to this day, they are still the main orchestra that do the majority of the playing across the 8 weeks. And this is a picture of the Symphony Orchestra in 1930. Now, one might say, well, that just looks like any old symphony orchestra, which it does. And a symphony orchestra today, sitting in the same seats there, would look very much the same, apart from a couple of differences. And if you look really closely at this picture from 1930, you will notice that almost every single musician there is white and male. And thankfully today, that is no longer the case. We reflect a diversity of everyone that can play music these days, which is a fantastic thing. And you will see as you go through records of the Proms how that has changed and is reflecting today's musicians. And the BBC Symphony Orchestra today, this year, now look like this. Obviously due to coronavirus, the orchestras can't play together. And the Proms this year, they have just announced that the first night of the Proms this year will be a very special piece of music that has been written specifically for the BBC Symphony Orchestra to be played from home. And obviously this picture here is various members of the orchestra recording and playing their instruments at home to be all put together. And the first night of the Proms this year will feature a piece of music written in that vein. So I'm very excited to hear what that is like and how it all works. But yes, you can see how different things have changed in 126 years of putting on one music festival. And it's got bigger and bigger every year. And we now have, obviously this year will be different, but generally speaking, there are daily concerts every day for 8 weeks, starting in July, ending halfway through September, and ending with the last night of the Proms, which is a really big and exciting event to go to. And people use it as a really good excuse to find their musical British values and get on board with their union flags and their chance to party, actually. And their last night of the Proms, as I said earlier, is at the Albert Hall and in the Party in the Park, and they all come together, and you will find lots of flags. This is due to Henry Wood's ethos at the beginning, not only in wanting as many people to experience classical music, but also as many people to experience British music, and as many British composers and conductors and performers to be able to show what they can do as well. And that is still true today. There are still many British musicians that start their journeys off at the Proms and get those opportunities. And that is why we use the flag. Now, when we come to do some performing, hopefully at the end of term, I would love for you to be able to have some flags around. So do get creative and start creating them. If you are from a different culture or a different country, I would love to see your flags too. This isn't about just the British flag. This is about every culture and every person coming together to create music together. And that's what the Proms does so brilliantly, and it's what Garden Suburb does brilliantly. So I want to see your flags and your culture reflected in your ideas. Be brave and enjoy, and show me what you are and what makes you. As we go through the next few weeks, I will be giving you some projects to do, some of which I would really enjoy seeing and hearing what you can do. So you can email me on the music@Garden Suburb email, which will be on your worksheets, and we can gradually put some things together. And the aim is to have our very own last night of the Proms, Garden Suburb style, with hopefully some recordings of you guys doing your thing. So have a good week, enjoy finding out about the Proms, have a listen to some music if you can, watch the video, and I will see you next week for some more things to do. Have a great week, see you later.